All right, record reflect jury's back in the courtroom. Welcome back, folks. Call your next witness. Okay, raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony you will now give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, have a seat right there. You may inquire.
Can you please state your name? And ma'am, I want to draw your attention to June of 2017. Where were you employed? And you may need to speak up or get a little closer to that mic if you could.
Essential Spa.
And what is it you did at the Essential Spa?
I was an aesthetician.
And what does that mean?
I was doing skincare, body services.
And who is it that hired you to work there?
Lynlee Renick.
And do you see her in court today?
Yes.
Where's she at?
Okay.
How is it that you met Ms. Renick?
A friend of mine told me that the spa was hiring, and she told me I should go check with her about a job.
And so you went, you got hired, I guess?
Yes.
When did you start working there?
I don't remember the exact date, honestly.
That's okay. In relationship to the June date we're talking about, we're talking about a few weeks, few months?
A few months.
And during this time frame in June, where is it that you were staying and who were you staying with?
I was staying with Ashley Shaw in Columbia.
And you two worked together?
Yes.
Now, at some point leading up to June 8th of 2017, you were aware what happened on that day, are you not?
Yes, sir.
And that's what happened on that date.
Ben was murdered.
Prior to speak up, man.
Prior to that date, did you wind up receiving some information from someone that his life had already been attempted to be murdered prior to that?
Yes, I did.
And who is it that you first found that out from?
Ashley Shaw.
And when is it that you found out from Ashley Shaw that someone had already attempted to kill Ben in relationship to the June date?
A few weeks, I would say.
I'm sorry?
I would say a few weeks.
Okay, so a few weeks before that.
Yes.
And do you know whether the attempt had already been made or was in the planning stage, according to what you learned from Ashley Shaw?
It had already been done.
And what did you learn from Ashley about that?
That it didn't work.
Well, did she tell you how or what was done to attempt to kill Ben?
They were giving him, he was given pills.
And when you say they, who is they?
Ashley and Lynlee.
And where was this conversation that the two of you had? Where did that take place at?
I believe that was at her home, or where we were staying.
Where you guys were staying? And would there have been anybody present besides the two of you?
No.
After learning that she and Lynlee had tried to kill Ben, what was your reaction?
I was shocked, and I told them I didn't want to be a part of anything.
You told me you didn't want to be a part of it?
Yes.
Did you ask why?
No.
Were you ever told why?
Lynlee didn't think that she would get the kids if she tried to divorce Ben.
Okay, and well, my question was, were you ever told why? Is the answer yes?
Yes.
Who told you why?
I believe it was probably Ashley and Lynlee at some point or other.
Ultimately, you had conversations with both of them about what was going to take place on June 8th of 2017.
Yes.
And let's start with Lynlee. What did she tell you about what was going to take place on that date?
She said that she was going to take a gun. Her and Michael Humphreys were going to go and meet Ben, and they were going to shoot him.
And I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you for some reason today.
Her and Michael Humphreys, Lynlee and Michael Humphreys, were going to take a gun and go see Ben, and they said they were going to murder him.
And where did this conversation between you and Lynlee take place at?
At the spa.
And I mean, where at in the spa, if you recall?
Most of the time we were talking out front on the side where we park, kind of down from the front door.
And was anybody else present?
I'm sure Ashley was.
And when she told you she was getting Michael Humphrey, have you heard of this Michael Humphrey guy before this date?
Yes, one time.
And where was that at?
His car was broke down on the side of the road, so we went and jump-started it.
We've heard about that, but you were in that group, so you had met him, so to speak, that date.
Yes.
But then after that is when Lynlee tells you on June 8th that she and Michael are going to go kill him.
Yes.
And when you hear this, what is your reaction?
I was shocked.
Did you have any other conversations with Lynlee about her wanting to kill her husband on June 8th?
I think all the other conversations I had were with Ashley.
And with respect to June 8th, were you working that day?
Yes.
And what were you supposed to do at work that day if this was going to go on?
We were just supposed to have a normal day. We didn't have clients. We cleared our books for the day.
When you say you clear your books, what does that mean?
We didn't book anything, any appointments.
And were you present when Lynlee left to go commit this crime?
Yes.
When she left, do you recall anything about how she was dressed or her appearance?
I honestly don't remember.
And when she left, did you and Ashley do something to protect yourself?
Yes.
What did you do?
We went to the bank, and then we went down to the corner store, convenience store, so that we'd be on camera.
And why did you want to be on camera?
We wanted to make sure that if anything happened, that they knew that we weren't with her.
And when you say with her, you mean Lynlee?
Yes.
And did you in fact do that?
Yes.
Do you remember about what time of day Lynlee left?
It seems like it was early afternoon, afternoonish.
And do you remember about how long she was gone?
It seems like it was a few hours.
And were you present when she returned?
Yes.
And you mentioned Michael Humphrey. Did you ever see him when she left and then when he returned?
No.
Let's tell the jury what happened when Lynlee returned to the spa.
When Lynlee returned, I was told to go to the back. Ashley told me to go back there because Michael didn't know that I knew anything about it. So I went to the back room, which was our break room, and the door was closed.
And well, first off, start with Lynlee. She comes back in. Where do you see her go, and what is she doing?
She goes to our wet room.
And do you know if she's carrying anything, or do you remember?
I don't know.
She goes to the wet room?
Yes.
And how is her demeanor when she arrives back at the spa?
Kind of, I guess, a little nervous, I guess, but worked up, I guess.
Do you speak with her?
No.
But Ashley tells you to do something, correct?
Yes.
What does Ashley tell you to do?
To go to the back room.
And so you go to the back room?
Yes.
And why did she tell you why you had to go to the back room?
Because Michael didn't know that I knew anything, and she didn't want him to see me there.
And so do you go to this room?
Yes.
And this is a room there's a door nobody can see in?
Right.
Do you close the door?
Yes.
While you're in there, are you able to hear voices or any other activity?
I heard voices, and I heard the shower, the water running in the wet room.
And when you heard voices back there, whose voices did you hear?
I heard Ashley's and Lynlee's, just because I was familiar with theirs, and then I heard a man's voice.
And when you say you heard their voices, could you discern or just tell what they were saying, or was it just a matter of you could hear their voices?
I could just hear their voices.
And you said you also heard a man's voice. When did you hear a man's voice?
At the same time, they were all in the shower room.
And how long did you hear this man enter, walking down the hall or anything, or did you just hear his voice?
I remember hearing his voice. That's all I remember.
Was his voice, was it speaking a lot or just a little bit?
A little bit.
And were you able to tell what that man was saying, or just?
No.
And was that man there when you came out of that room?
No, he was gone.
Now, did you ever speak with Lynlee again about this, her conspiracy to kill her husband after this had happened?
No.
You did speak to her about a fellow by the name of Brandon Blackwell, did you not?
Yes.
Okay. When did you first meet or see a guy named Brandon Blackwell?
It seems like it was shortly before Ben was murdered.
And how is it that you came into contact with him?
He came into the spa one day.
And was that spa for you to work on him or for Lynlee?
Lynlee.
And did you subsequently learn something about Lynlee and his involvement?
Yes.
What did you learn?
That they were together.
That they began a sexual relationship.
Right.
And after Ben's murder, do you recall Lynlee making a statement to you about Brandon Blackwell?
Yes.
And the statement I'm going to ask you about, do you remember when it was in relationship to the day of the murder? Are we talking days, weeks, or months?
Just days is what it seemed like.
So it was just a few days later?
Yes.
And what did she tell you about Brandon Blackwell within a couple days of her having murdered her husband?
That they were in love.
Judge, I don't have any other questions.
Cross-examination.
Ms. Hunt, you don't have a criminal history, correct?
I don't.
You've never been convicted of a crime in your life, right?
No.
And you're not a violent person, right?
No.
Is that correct?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
You're not a violent person, is that true?
Yes, that's true.
Okay. And your job was what was it called?
I was an esthetician.
And what does an esthetician do?
Skincare services.
Okay, so you're not in a violent profession, right?
No.
And I think you said that you had never testified in a homicide investigation before, or been questioned in a homicide investigation. Is that true as well?
That's true.
And you never told the police a word about this until you were given an immunity deal, correct?
Right.
So you don't know anything. You don't know what's going on. You were questioned in the winter of 2018. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what did you tell the police Lynlee's involvement was on that date?
I said that I didn't know anything.
Okay, and that was the truth, right?
No, that wasn't the truth.
But then, you tell the police that Lynlee was not involved, and then some time passes and you learn that Ashley Shaw has been given a proffer agreement that she has said Lynlee's guilty, and she calls you on the phone and tells you that very thing, correct?
Yes.
And so at that point, you and her have a conversation about what she told the police, correct?
No, we didn't.
Did you testify in a deposition on July 14th of 2020?
Yes.
Did you testify at that deposition that you talked to Ashley Shaw the day after she was arrested?
Yes.
So it wouldn't have come up in that conversation the day after Ashley Shaw got arrested what she told the police? Is that your testimony?
The only thing that she said was they knew everything, so to be honest.
That's all she said?
That's all she said.
That's it, nothing more?
That's it.
You weren't curious at all about what she said or anything like
No.
that? And she didn't ask you any questions, that was it?
That was it.
But then you get a proffer agreement, this identical proffer agreement as Ashley Shaw, correct?
I don't know what hers looks like, but I guess so.
Well, you get total immunity just like she does, right?
Yes.
And you're not charged with anything, correct?
Right.
What did the police tell you were going to be charged with if you didn't take their proffer agreement?
They never said I'd be charged with anything.
So why did you need a proffer agreement then?
I never said anything about it. My attorney came up with it, and he had it before
Why
I...
wouldn't you just tell it, if you didn't do anything wrong, then why wouldn't you just tell the police your statement? Why would you need an attorney at all?
Because I was advised to get one. I didn't know what was going to happen.
Who advised you to get an attorney?
A family member.
You were very good friends with Ashley Shaw, correct?
Yes.
You were in her wedding.
Yes.
You were a bridesmaid in her wedding.
Yes.
You posted her wedding photo on your. You made her wedding photo the cover of your Facebook page.
Yes.
You testified that her wedding was a very happy event.
Yes.
She let you stay rent-free at her property.
Yes.
And that's kind of what your testimony here today is all about, right? You
guess
helping
I-
out Ashley Shaw?
No, I'm not helping Ashley.
Do you remember the police asking you if there was any blood on Lynlee's clothes when she returned from the snake or the reptile facility?
Yes.
Do you know what you said?
I said I didn't know.
Are you sure?
I mean, that's what I remember.
Isn't that your deposition that you gave?
Yes.
Does that say that you didn't know if Lynlee had blood on her clothes?
I didn't see it.
Does it help refresh your recollection if you read what you said?
Ashley told me that Lynlee had blood on her clothes.
Can you repeat that, please?
Ashley told me that Lynlee had blood on her clothes.
Ashley told you that Lynlee had blood on her clothes, correct?
Yes.
Now, you were asked a lot of specific questions about what took place on the night of the murder on October the 7th of this year, correct?
Yes.
And you would agree that a murder is a significant thing in a person's life, correct?
Yes.
It's the kind of thing that a person would remember. Correct?
Yes.
Did you remember how many times Lynlee and Ashley Shaw discussed the murder?
I don't.
Did you remember how long the conversations were?
No.
Did you remember the times of day they took place?
No.
Did you remember how many times Michael Humphrey came into the spa?
I think no.
Do you remember the date this alleged murder took place?
June 8th.
Did you remember that on October the 7th?
No.
What happened to the clothes that Lynlee was wearing that night?
Not exactly.
By not exactly, you mean you don't remember.
No.
Now, your attorney, when you met with him, Mr. Lewright, is that correct?
Yes.
He showed you a police report, didn't he, on this case?
I think he did in the beginning.
Okay. Why would your attorney show you a police report in this case?
I don't know.
Is the answer so that you would know what to say to be consistent with Ashley Shaw so that you could keep your proffer agreement?
No.
Well, why would you need to see a police report? If you lived everything, why would you need to see a police report?
I don't even know what was in the police report. He just said that he had one.
He showed it to you?
I think that he pulled it out at some point, but it's not something that I looked over.
Did you ever receive anything from Lynlee Renick?
I don't know what you would be referring to.
Anything? Like any money or anything like that?
No.
Okay, so you did this as a favor to her. Keep quiet.
I guess, yeah.
I have no further questions.
Leave direct.
Yes, ma'am, there are a lot of things there that Mr. Heston just asked you about that you don't remember about this.
Right.
Okay. You do remember the conversation with Lynlee where she talked to you about what her plans were, correct?
Yes.
And she didn't get that.
You do remember the conversation you had with Lynlee where she told you what her and Michael were going to do?
Yes.
And what did they tell you? What do you remember her telling you they were going to do?
They were going to go to the reptile facility and shoot Ben.
I don't have any other questions.
So you have one of those memories that only records things that are helpful to the state's case, correct?
No.
You're a special person. You have a brain that records things that helps Mr. Zollner and helps your proffer agreement, but you forget everything else. Is that how it works?
You've not asked me anything that I know.
No further questions.
I don't have any other questions.
May this witness be finally excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
We may recall her.
You're subject to recall, but you can step down right now, okay? Thank you so much. Call your next witness.
Michael Humphrey.
Okay? Mr. Heston.
Help yourself to whatever you need.
You probably better get the whole thing. Okay, raise your right hand as best you can. You solemnly swear the testimony you will now give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Have a seat up here. Mr. Zeller.
Could you please state your name?
Michael Humphrey,
And where are you currently incarcerated?
Montgomery County Jail,
And why are you incarcerated there?
for the charges of murder. And
For your involvement
sure,
in this conspiracy?
correct.
Now, I want to ask you some questions, Mr. Humphrey. First of all, do you know Lynlee Renick?
Yes,
Do you see her here in court today?
yes.
Could you indicate where she's at? And you're pointing in a general direction. Can you give us a description of? There's three women over there.
Second person in from the far side.
Okay.
That work?
There's three women. Which one is she?
The one in the middle. How about that?
Your Honor.
Thank you.
Identification's been stipulated.
Mr. Humphrey, how is it you know Lynlee Renick?
We actually had dated back in the 2007 area, something like that.
How long were the two of you boyfriend, girlfriend?
On and off for a few years.
And so if on and off for a couple, 2 years, it would have been over around 2010?
I'd say that's probably pretty close, yeah.
And I'm not asking exact, but 2010, 2011 at the latest.
Right.
Did you have any contact with her other than until the events of what you're here to talk about today?
No.
And those events started in late May or June of 2017, correct?
Correct.
So you had no contact with her in person, phone, texting, of any sort?
Correct.
Back when you had this relationship with her, did you ever have an occasion to shoot firearms with her?
Yeah, we had been out to the gun range a few different times.
A few different times?
Yep.
Okay, and what gun did you guys shoot when you were out there?
I had a Springfield Armory 40 caliber XD series.
And did you fire that when the two of you were together?
Yeah.
And did she fire that?
Yeah.
She's I look over, she's kind of a little bitty thing. I don't mean that mean, but she's a small girl, right?
Right.
She have had any trouble handling that weapon?
No.
Now, let's fast forward to October 29th of this year.
Okay.
You agreed to cooperate in this case a month and a half ago, correct?
Correct.
And as a result of that cooperation, you know you're going to go to prison on the charge of second-degree murder.
Correct.
And you know you're going to get a life sentence.
Correct.
And the charge of armed criminal action is going to get dismissed against you.
Right.
And for that, you agreed to tell us where the gun was at?
Correct.
And you agreed to tell the jury what you say happened?
Correct.
Now, prior to getting involved in these events, did you have a criminal record?
I had one 2012, I believe it was, on case finished up 2015. I was put on probation, yes.
For what type of offense?
Drug-related offense.
And what was the drug involved there?
Heroin.
And what was it, a possession charge?
Yeah,
And so you were on probation for that.
correct.
Now, do you remember the date that Ben was murdered? The date.
June 8th, 2017.
Prior to that date, you'd mentioned you hadn't had any contact with Lynlee. Prior to that date, did you again have contact with her?
Yes, in the prior two weeks leading up to that, or roughly 2 weeks, whatever it was.
That's what I was going to ask you. You don't know what date it was you initially saw her again, do you?
No, I don't.
But if you're approximating, you're saying about 2 weeks prior to that?
Right.
And were you expecting to see her or had some forewarning that you were going to see her?
No.
Okay. And where did you see her at?
She showed up at my driveway.
And was she there with was she alone?
No, she had a girl named Ashley with her.
Had you ever met that girl before?
No.
And do you know that girl's full name now?
I do, Ashley Shaw, yeah.
Now, when they got there, what was your reaction to seeing this girlfriend of yours for the first time in 6-7 years?
Definitely caught off guard, yep.
I'm sorry?
Definitely caught off guard.
I assume you're kind of surprised?
Yeah.
Okay. And when you saw her, tell us what happened, what interaction the three of you had at that point in time.
Initially, she just kind of came up and started casually talking about her friend wanting some audio equipment done. And then after that, she asked if we could go inside and talk. At that point, she brought up that
Well, let me stop you there, okay? Where were you at when you first saw her?
in my car in the driveway.
So you're outside in the car.
Right.
And do both of them come up and talk to you about this, or are they separated?
No, her friend stayed back in the car.
So this initial conversation about her friend needing audio equipment is just you and Lynlee.
Right.
And after kind of, hey, it's good to see you, whatever, this little bit of conversation, you said you went inside to your house, correct?
Correct.
And who all went inside?
All three of us.
And when you got inside, can you again now tell us what kind of transpired in terms of the conversation between you and Lynlee?
They had told me that they had tried to give him a shake that had pills in it, and she also said that she was.
Well, let me stop you there. I'm not trying to be difficult, but you said they. Were both of them speaking at this point in time, or is that just kind of the way we talk?
I'm just grouping them because they're there together.
Yeah. Who is doing the talking?
Lynlee.
And from the two of them, when they're talking about this situation with Ben, who is leading the conversation?
Lynlee.
And so when you say they, it's just sort of how we talk, correct?
Right.
But to be accurate, it was Lynlee.
Correct.
So she tells you they had done what I just did it myself.
Yeah.
Lynlee tells you what had she just done or recently done to her husband?
About the shake. You're talking
Yes.
about. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing part of it. About the shake with the pills in it, and that they were trying to find somebody to shoot him.
And when you heard this from your girlfriend after all these years, what was your reaction?
Initially, I thought she was just exaggerating some,
Did you respond?
I told them that was crazy. That was,
Did at some point during this conversation, did Lynlee ever explain to you or give you a reason why she tried to kill her husband and why she was now seeking out somebody to shoot him?
She said that there was different physical and sexual abuse going on, yeah, like raping and,
Did she go into detail with you?
A little bit, yeah.
What did she tell you?
One thing was that he had climbed on top of her and forced himself on her in the middle of the night. Another one was that she had woke up to fingers. I don't know how you guys want to.
And I know it's unpleasant We don't know, but go ahead and use her exact words if you remember.
To her being fingered, and she was trying to say no to it.
Did she describe any other physical or emotional abuse during this conversation? Or
Just that they would have different fights around the kids that would kind of turn physical-ish. I mean, push shove kind of.
And as a result of being there, did they say not that we're not only looking for somebody to shoot him, but did they ask something specific of you?
Not at that time. They just was generalizing that they wanted to try to find somebody to shoot him.
And did you give him any advice with respect to that?
I told him I was not going to be a part of that.
And did the conversation about killing Ben end after you told them that?
We basically small chatted after that, yeah.
Well, the conversation about the conspiracy to kill ended, but you kept the chit chat going.
Right.
Kind of catching up on old times.
Exactly.
Do the two of them eventually leave?
Yes.
Prior to them leaving, did Lynlee mention to you anything about the spa?
She said to come up and get a massage at some point. We exchanged some numbers and yeah, then they left.
Did you, after this date, actually go up there for a massage?
It was
go up there and go for a massage?
About 2 or 3 days later, yeah.
And in addition to going up for the massage, had you been thinking about Lynlee's situation?
Yeah.
And what did you decide on your, well, did you discuss this with anybody at that point in time, or did you make some decisions on your own?
I just made a decision. Whenever I went up there to go get a massage, that 2 or 3 days later, whatever it was, I actually took her my gun.
When you say you took her your gun, which, are you talking about the gun the two of you had previously shot together?
Correct.
That Springfield you
Yes.
mentioned?
Yes.
The one she could handle okay?
Right.
Why did you want to take that gun to her on that occasion?
From what she was describing to me, I thought she could use it in a case of, like, if she only had that option left, it'd be self-defense. Because she said she couldn't leave there, so.
So you go up there with the gun.
Yeah,
Is the gun have ammo with it?
it does. It's loaded.
Okay. And so when you say it's loaded, it's got a magazine full of ammunition and the magazine's in it.
Correct.
Is a round chamber in it.
Yes,
So all you got to do is go bang.
you got it.
And when you get there, where is this gun at with respect to your person? Where is it at?
I had a pair, I think it was cargo shorts on, and then put them down in the side pocket of the cargo shorts.
It was concealed.
Yes.
And when you got there, tell us what happened that day.
She checked me in for, I guess Ashley, I think, was at the front desk, checked me in for a massage. Took me back there. Lynlee comes in there to do the massage or whatever, and then talk for a second. I give her that, explain to her that in the case of self-defense, this is, and for as long as you need it, you can have it. And she said at that point she didn't know if she could do something like that. Put it up on top of there. I did get a full body, or upper body massage rather, and that was pretty much that day.
So when you get there, make sure I understand. Ashley kind of checks you in like a bookkeeping thing.
Right.
You never paid, correct?
Correct.
This was on the house, so to speak.
Right.
You go back to the room, and you and Lynlee are back there together for yourselves.
Right.
And you got an upper body massage.
Correct.
But putting aside all the legitimate, if you will,
Objection, Your Honor, leading. This is the fourth or fifth question that's leading.
I gotta hear the full question.
putting aside the legitimate like spa activity that we just talked about, tell us how you gave the gun how you handled handing off the gun to Lynlee, what was discussed.
There's the question. You got an objection?
Yes, Your Honor.
What is it?
Leading.
Overruled. You wanted to repeat it, or you got that?
I think I got what he's asking.
Okay, answer it.
Basically, I handed it to her directly. She put it on the countertop inside the room. Is that what you're asking, I guess?
Yes. So you hand it to her, and she takes it and puts it on the counter.
Right.
And what do you tell her about why you brought that gun?
I told her that in the case of self-defense that nobody should have to go through what she described to me.
And does she respond when you tell her that?
That she didn't think that she could do that. As in shoot somebody.
Well, and that's my question, did she say, I didn't think I could do that, or did she say, I don't think I could shoot somebody?
She said, I don't think I could do that.
That was her phrase?
Correct.
Okay. And I forgot to ask you this, Mr. Humphrey. Back when her and Ashley were at your house, did they offer you anything to commit this murder?
No.
Now, when was the next time you wound up having, after this massage and handing off the gun, did you leave?
Yes.
When was the next time you had contact with Lynlee?
I think it was probably somewhere in the ballpark of another 2 or 3 days later, I guess. Something like that.
And can you tell the jury how you came into contact with this next occasion?
I was actually on my way back from Booneville Casino. My alternator was going out on my car. I stopped, asked them if I could use her car to jump my car. I had cables. They basically just handed me the keys out of the door. I let it charge up for a little bit, and then I handed the keys back in the door to one of them. I don't remember which one it was.
So basically you used the spa as just a waypoint to try and charge your car.
Right.
And you didn't discuss with Lynlee, did you discuss with Lynlee any of this conspiracy to kill her husband?
No.
Did you leave the spa?
I did. I got on the highway, got to, I think it was somewhere around Discovery exit, realized I didn't latch my hood all the way and had to stop and turn my car off actually, and wasn't charged enough to restart it. So I think I texted Lynlee at that point. I don't know, I may have called her, I don't remember what it was, and asked her if she could come and jump my car. She said they were out to lunch and doing something else, but that they would be right there.
And so this jury's not around from here. You headed south from Columbia to your home in Holtzside.
Correct.
And you said the Discovery exit. That's basically a halfway, well, not really halfway, but just south of town and exit.
Yeah, 10 minutes from where I was at, yeah.
And you texted her for help after you had this mistake and your car battery died again.
Right.
Who showed up on that occasion to help you with your car situation?
There was Ashley, Lynlee, and then 1 or 2 other girls in there that
You don't know who they are?
I don't really know who they are.
And do they get your car running again?
Yeah.
Okay. And again, at this point in time, do the two of you and Lynlee, discuss this conspiracy in any way?
No.
When is the next time you have contact with Lynlee?
There was probably another couple days after that, something like that.
And where is it that you have contact with him?
She came back out to my house.
And how is it that the two of you wound up meeting at your house?
She just showed up there.
Okay, this was again another so uninvited
Drop in.
visit.
Yeah.
And who was with her this time?
Nobody.
And how much time did you spend together on this occasion?
Half an hour.
And what did the two of you discuss on this occasion?
She came out there, said that her and Ben were fighting. She, in short, basically said, I guess if I don't have anybody that's going to do this, I need to be able to go to my house and get some clothes.
And when you say, was that sort of her exact phrase?
Something of that nature. 100% on word for word, if I don't have somebody to kill him or something,
Well, that's what I'm asking. When she says to do this, whatever phrase she uses, you understand that to mean what?
Talking about killing Ben.
And did you again on this occasion what did you tell her about your involvement and willingness to kill her?
No, I'm not in on that.
And during this occasion, did she offer you something in terms of if you would do so?
She said something, and again, word for word, verbatim, but it was something of the effect of, I'll make it worth your time.
Okay. Never promised you a certain amount of money or a certain amount of property, just said, I would make it worth your time.
Right.
And you in response to being offered her making it worth your time, what was your response?
Again, that I'm not partaking in that.
Did she ask you to do something else besides then kill her husband?
She asked me if I would go out there to her house to help her gather up like a bag of clothes so that she could go and stay at some point with her dad.
And did you agree to do that?
Yeah.
And knowing she had tried, or at least from her own words, she had tried to kill her husband once before, and now she has been asking you to help kill her, why would you help her in this manner?
I thought that was going to be a peaceful resolution.
And did it turn out to be a peaceful resolution?
That was not.
Let's talk about the day this was going to happen. I think we earlier said it was June 8th, correct?
Right.
What was supposed to be your time? What were you going to do? I mean, tell us what your understanding of what you were supposed to do that day to help her get this peaceful understanding.
She had asked me to come up there to the spa to meet her. I believe it was in the morning hours, 8, 9 o'clock, something like that. And then to go with her out there to her house. I had different car issues, was working on my car. I didn't get up there until I believe it was 2 or 3 in the afternoon, something like that.
And so basically you're supposed to be up there in the morning, but you're running late because of your car.
Correct.
Now, during that morning time, she was calling you, texting you. What was she asking you?
If I was going to be able to still make that to Columbia.
And during some of these text messages, did you have some brief conversation through texting about drug use?
I believe so, yeah.
And can you tell the jury when they see these messages later so they understand them, what you recall saying?
I asked her if she wanted to come by for, I think I phrased it as a pep rally or something like that. It was referring to doing like a little bit of meth.
And was that trying to get her to relax and chill?
Yeah.
And so, did she take you up on that offer that day?
No.
Now, you got up there in the afternoon, correct?
Right.
Did you go into this? How is it that you met up with Lynlee, or she knew you were there?
I pulled up and she came right out.
I mean, you didn't honk her, she just shows and runs out.
Right.
When she comes out, how's she dressed?
Like black leggings and a hoodie on.
And when you say the hoodie is on, is the head part of that actually obscuring her head, or is it down around her neck?
I don't remember being up, but
That's okay.
Yeah.
But that's what she was wearing?
Yeah.
Did she have anything in her hands that you recall?
A bag, like a purse bag.
And did you see this gun that you previously left behind with her?
Not at that time, huh?
And would this gun fit inside that purse?
For what I remember of the purse, maybe. I don't pay much attention to women's purses, honestly. I don't.
But you didn't see a gun printing on her side or
No.
her clothes?
No.
And what happened when she came out of the spa and saw you there in the car?
She asked me if I was still taking her up to her house.
And did you agree to do so?
Yeah.
And whose car did you take?
We ended up taking mine.
And did that surprise you?
Considering I had been spending the morning working on it, yeah, kind of.
Okay. And had you planned on driving your own vehicle out there?
No.
As a result, was there a problem in terms of fuel?
We had to stop at Lake of the Woods exit. I think it's a Phillips 66 there.
And again, these jurors aren't from around here, but if you're leaving Columbia and you're going to the snake facility, the Lake of the Woods exit is where?
You're just jumping on the highway and headed east out of town.
Basically, it's the last kind of exit when you leave Columbia to head east on 70.
Yeah, that's pretty much your last stop to get gas for a minute.
And when you discovered you had this fuel issue, what is Lynlee's reaction?
A little put out.
And did she say why?
Not then, no. She just said...
Did she ever tell you why she was upset about you not having fuel?
Ever tell me? No.
But she was a little put out that she had to stop.
Right.
Who paid for the fuel?
Her debit card.
Now, do you remember about how long the drive it was from leaving town here to get into Montgomery City? You weren't technically in Montgomery City, but to the snake facility.
I'm somewhere in the 30-40 minute range, I'm guessing.
And what time of day do you recall actually her jumping in the car and leaving?
It would have been, like I said, I got up there around 2 or 3, and it would have been directly following that, so.
So whatever time you got up there between 2 and 3, you would have left.
Right.
Would a good time in terms of setting that down would be whatever time that gas was pumped?
I would say that's probably fairly accurate, yep.
Because you would have left from the parking lot.
I'm bleeding.
I'll rephrase it. Would it have just taken you, how long would it have taken you from when she got in the car to drive to the gas station?
Less than 10 minutes.
And then the rest of this drive would have been on the rest of the way?
Correct.
Would it take you the same amount of time to return minus the stop at the gas station?
Yes.
And we're going to talk about what happened out there, but how long were you actually at the snake facility, do you think, from the moment you stopped the car to the moment when you drove off?
Couple minutes.
Now, on the way out there, what conversation are the two of you having?
She had said that she was going to talk to him, get some of her stuff in order to stay there, like I said, at her dad's and stuff, and then from there it would probably work out whatever future action she was going to do, whether she was going to get a restraining order or file for divorce or that kind of.
And based on what she told you or asked of you, what was your intended role to be, so to speak?
Just to make sure he didn't flip out, basically.
And beyond that conversation, did you guys have small talk again, catching up, that kind of thing?
I'm sure we probably did, yeah.
Was there any more conversation about murdering him?
No.
When you get there, can you describe the building you pull up to?
It's a small grayish colored building off to the right hand side of the driveway.
Just pretty nondescript.
It looked like a little shop or something to me when you first pull up to it. Yeah.
And when you pull up there, are there any other cars around that you recall?
There was a reddish maroon colored Jeep, I believe.
Were there any people when you first pulled up there?
No.
Tell us what happens when you pull up and the car actually stops.
We got out, walked around to the front of the car, and just as we get to the front of the car, from my right side, basically, sort of behind me, she walks up to me, and I feel something at my hip. I end up turning around and looking at it. It's the gun that I'd given her.
And I hadn't asked you, have you ever met this Ben before?
Never.
Okay. So let me stop you. You get out of the car, she gets out of the car, and as you're next to the car, she presses something against your back-ish area.
Right.
And you look down and you see what?
And I can see the handle of the gun.
And when you see that, what is your reaction?
I shoved it back at her and asked her basically what the hell she was doing.
And while this is transpiring between the two of you, what happened, or who approaches or comes out?
Ben came out the door at the exact time all this was going down, or just as it was.
And do you know what he's doing, or can you see?
If I remember right, he had like some bag or box or something in his hand to throw away.
And when you're doing this with her, he's coming out. Tell us the next thing that is said or transpires between now the three of you there.
So she walks around, kind of circles behind me this way, and ends up telling him that I'm there to look at snakes, and that she had known me from or since high school or something to that effect. That I was a friend from high school or something like that. Yeah.
So she tells him a lie.
Right.
About why you're out there.
Right.
Okay. And when she tells him this about hey, a friend from high school see some snakes, what is his reaction, or can you see what his reaction is?
He was just, I guess, momentarily hesitant as to, just randomly showing up there, but was like, fine, that's fine, come on in. You can take a look, see what all we got.
I mean, and where does he go then?
He goes back inside the doors there.
So he heads back into the building.
Correct.
What do the two of you do then?
I followed him in, actually. She had taken trash from him, I believe, and took it over to the dumpsters.
So you follow him in, And you think she's taking care of this trash stuff.
Right.
Tell us what happens after you get inside the building with Ben and she's out there doing whatever.
He goes over to a sink that's on the left-hand side of the walkway through there or something, washes his hands, turns, and then goes down the main walkway there, talking about all the different types of snakes they have. I don't know nothing about snakes, so. At the time that he's walking down through there, he gets towards basically the end of it there. She comes in the door, walks right on past me. I'm figuring she's going to go down there and talk to her husband, let him know whatever's going on.
Well, let me stop and just make sure. He's now at the other, you've come in the door, but he's now at where you said it ended, the other end of the building.
Yeah, it's just a long stretch down through there,
Kind of like a long, narrow hallway?
full of totes of snakes. Yeah.
Okay. And where are you at in relationship to that doorway and where he's at, if you can approximate?
Just a couple steps in the door.
So you're just still by the door.
Yeah.
And by the time he washes his hand and gets down to the end, you mentioned Lynlee is coming from where and going where?
From outside, came in the door and walked right past me.
And as she does this, does she say anything to you or Ben?
No.
Do you see anything in her hands?
At that time, no.
Well, and let me ask you this, were you paying attention to her?
I really wasn't. I was looking at a rack full of a lot of snakes.
She goes by you and heads in the direction of Ben?
Yeah.
Okay, tell us what happens next.
So like I said, I was looking at a whole lot of snakes. And then I heard a shot come out, which inside there was extremely loud, so I kind of ducked a little bit. I looked down through there, and she was at the end of the corridor, or whatever you want to call it, posed up like this with the gun.
And so you hear one shot and react to that,
Yeah,
and then look down to where they're at.
right.
And when you look down there, how is Ben positioned if you can see him?
I couldn't see him at that point.
Where he was at?
Yeah, I actually couldn't see him.
So he at least wasn't standing upright.
Right,
Okay. You could see her though?
right.
And you said she was, if you could stand up and show how she was positioned.
Something kind of like this.
Okay. And then did you say you heard more shots?
As I turned and went out the door, I thought 2 to 3 more, and then another 1 or 2 after I was outside.
You weren't counting though, were you?
I was not.
But you heard, would it be fair to say you heard several more after that initial shot?
Right,
But you turned and ran out the door.
correct.
Where did you go?
To my car.
Did you leave?
Not immediately. I pulled the door open, and I'm looking back up there to kind of see what's going on. It was a few seconds. She comes out the door. I'm still standing there. She runs around to the passenger side of the car and starts screaming at me to drive, basically.
And when you see her coming out and headed to your car and telling you to drive, do you see anything in her hands on this occasion?
Being 100% honest, no, I don't remember if it was in her hands or not.
She gets in the car?
Yeah.
Why didn't you just leave her there?
I was waiting to see if anybody else was, like, if he was coming out of there.
She gets in the car and you drive.
Right.
Where do you go?
Back to the spa in Columbia.
And on the way back there, what is going on between you and Lynlee in the car on this occasion?
She's I'm gonna call it freaking out. She was smoking cigarettes and kind of saying she was nauseous and different things to that effect. I drove back to Columbia though and stopped there at her spa, and she jumps out.
Well, let me stop you there for a second. So she's smoking cigarettes, acting nauseous in the car.
Right.
Did you see the gun in the car during the drive?
No, not at that point. I didn't.
Okay. And her, when you had occasions to look at her, did you notice any blood on her hands, body, clothing at all?
No.
Did you have any blood on your body, clothing at all?
No.
After she got out, was there any blood in the car?
No.
You said she got out and went into the spa.
Right.
What did you do?
Probably a few seconds after, 10, 15 seconds afterwards, I don't know, a few minutes. I followed her in, and there was nobody in the front of the spa at all. I heard talking down their hallway, followed that, and they're in a room with I've tried to describe it a few different times. I don't know. It's a spa device of some sort that sprays water. I have no idea what it's called.
But nobody's there when you get in there.
Right.
And so you walk back to where you hear these voices.
Right.
And when you get back there, who's back there?
Ashley and Lynlee.
And what are the two of them doing?
Spraying water.
Okay, and is one of them unclothed at this point in time?
Lynlee.
Okay. So who's spraying water on who?
I think Ashley had it in her hand at that point and was spraying the water, yeah.
And what were the two, what conversation then occurred between the three of you, if any?
I opened up the door and I asked her, does she know what just happened? And she said something to the effect of, I already told her, or I'm telling her, or something like that. And so I told her I really didn't have any want to talk to them ever again at this point, and I turned and I left. Well, actually first I guess they asked me, would you take some of this? And they were referring to her pile of clothes on the ground, and that was whenever I told them, that I didn't ever need to talk to them again, and then I left.
And so they wanted you to get rid of the clothing though on your way out?
Correct.
Okay, and you refused?
Correct.
Do you leave?
Yeah.
Get in your car?
Yes.
Tell the jury about what happens on the way home in your car.
I get, I'm approximating it about halfway home. Step my brakes. I don't remember if it was to go around somebody or whatever it was. And out from underneath the passenger seat slides the gun, my gun.
And did that surprise you?
Yeah.
And why did it surprise you?
I didn't recognize that it was my gun until that moment.
And what did you do?
I was freaking out a little bit.
Okay. Why is that?
Because it's my gun.
And it had been, you believed it had just been used to do what?
To shoot somebody, yeah.
Now, what ultimately did you do with that gun after you got back and you weren't driving?
I put it in a case and put it back in the house.
When you say a
or
case,
back in the house and then put it in a case, whichever way.
you said the case it came in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Black case.
And when you got the gun, did the gun have any blood on it?
No, not that I recognize. No.
And if it had, would you have cleaned it off, you think?
Probably not. I don't know. Probably. I don't know. I didn't ever see any. That never came about. So.
Yeah, but when you saw it, it had been used in this murder, but it had no blood on it.
Correct.
Now, you said you put it in this case. Ultimately, this October, where was that gun at? Where did it wind up?
This October?
Yeah, when the cops went and got it.
It was over at my girlfriend's mom's house.
And where was it put?
There's a side attic access. You just pull two doors open and there's like a storage area right there.
And you told the officers when we spoke to you a month and a half ago, like we talked about earlier, that's where they could locate this gun at.
Right.
Okay. Now, prior to talking to them in October of this year, Devin Faust came out to you at some point in time after he had found out you had been in contact with Lynlee during this time frame.
Right.
And I think he met with you at your probation office.
Yep.
And you lied to him and did not tell him all these details, did you?
No, I didn't.
Did you tell him anything about knowing anything about at all anybody wanting to murder Ben?
No.
And basically you stuck with that lie on a couple other occasions, or another occasion, when they came to talk to you also.
Right.
Now after you were arrested for these charges in January of this 2020, You did tell them some of these details, did you not?
Right.
Would it be fair to say that you told them, you left out, what important...
I left out me giving her the gun. I mean, straight up, that's it.
I mean, you essentially told them the same except for the part about you giving the gun and you having the gun.
Correct.
Michael, I'm going to show you, this is State's Exhibit 114, and ask, do you recognize what this black case is?
Yep.
What is it?
That's my gun case.
And I'm going to hold out up now. What am I holding up?
That's my gun.
That's what your gun is?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd offer State's Exhibit 114.
114, now, is that just the case and everything in it?
Yes.
Okay, any objection?
No, Your Honor.
114 be admitted. Okay,
I don't have any other questions.
cross-examination.
That's the gun that killed Ben Renick?
Yes.
That gun that was in your possession?
Correct.
I want to be clear, Mr. Humphrey. You just testified, I think, that when you walked into the reptile facility, you were under the impression you were just going there to talk, for Lynlee to talk to Ben
So
about a
that's-
divorce?
She didn't specify divorce. She said so that she could get some clothes from the house so she could go and stay at her dad's house until she was going to, figure out what her course was going to be.
Okay, so she was indicating that she was going to discuss with Ben a possible separation or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and I think the prosecutor asked you, and you said that after this incident, you and her never had any contact.
She texted me right after this stuff happened, and
Okay.
then there was one text that went out randomly, like,
Okay.
I don't know, some weeks after that, I don't know, a couple weeks after that.
Okay, but you guys never got together and said, hey, we're going to say this. We're both going to say that I was going there to confront Ben about a divorce, right?
No.
Okay. Now, if somebody were to testify, for example, that you agreed to kill Ben within a day or two of Ashley Shaw and Lynlee coming to your trailer, would that be false?
That would be false.
Huh. Now, you testified, I think, recently that you were using methamphetamines around this time, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, you were using methamphetamines the day of 6/8, correct?
I would say that's, yeah.
Okay. For the benefit of the jury, can you explain what methamphetamines are?
It's a drug.
Okay, what do you feel like when you're on methamphetamine?
It's different for different people, but mainly just gives you energy.
Okay, is it... And where do you get your methamphetamine from?
Your Honor, I'm going to object. It's irrelevant to these proceedings.
You know, I think it goes to credibility. If he's a criminal and he's selling methamphetamine, I think it goes to his credibility.
Overruled.
Where do you get your methamphetamine from, Michael?
Various places.
Okay. And you sell methamphetamine?
No, not like I have before, but when it's the same as like one of your friends going to your house and grabbing beer out of your fridge and leaving money on your table.
Okay, but in your case, you go to your friend's house and you drop off meth.
No.
Okay.
I've had friends come over and ask me if I had some, and then we exchange like that, but that's...
So you give your friends meth?
Yes.
Like Tom Sidebottom?
No.
And like Henry Padelford? Butch?
Yes. Butch I have before, yes.
And
not
you and
Tom.
Butch were using methamphetamines around this time?
Right.
Okay, and you offered Lynlee Renick methamphetamines that day too, right?
Correct.
And she turned you
Turn it
down?
down. That's correct.
And she didn't even know what you were talking about, right?
Huh?
She didn't know what a pep rally was, right?
I thought she would have known. Maybe she didn't. I don't know.
Okay. Now, you were convicted of a felony, right? Prior to this incident?
The one I was talking about earlier in 2012.
Yes, well, whichever one. You're a felon. You were a felon in 2017.
I had one drug charge, yes.
Was it a felony?
Yes.
That makes you a felon,
Correct.
doesn't it? Okay.
Absolutely.
And you can't have a gun when you're a felon, right?
You're not supposed to possess a gun, that's correct.
Okay. You're not supposed to. That would be a yes, wouldn't it?
I had purchased a gun before I was a felon.
It's illegal for you to have a gun when you're a felon,
Correct.
but you had a gun anyway.
Right.
And you brought a gun to the spa that day.
Correct.
And you brought a gun to the spa that day. You claim, at the same time that you claim, you were under the impression she was just going there to talk to Ben.
That's not the same day.
Then Devin Faust comes and talks to you on July 17th of 2017, correct?
Okay. I don't know the exact dates.
He talked to you in somebody's office, I think?
At a probation office, yeah.
Okay. And could I have one moment, Your Honor? Did you tell Corporal Faust that you slingshot a cat when he talked to you?
I don't recall that. It's possible.
Okay.
Do you recall saying that, Corporal Faust?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Why do you slingshot cats?
They had a bunch of strays that were out in that neighborhood.
Okay, what does slingshotting a cat involve?
What is it what?
What does it involve?
A slingshot.
Okay, to the cat, right?
Right.
All right. And on 7/17, you don't tell Devin Faust anything that you just told this jury right now, correct?
Correct.
You tell him, I think, that you weren't even at the spot on 6/8, correct?
I don't remember what I told him.
Well, you certainly never told him that you went to the snake facility.
That's correct.
Okay, that was a lie.
That's correct.
Okay, and you also told him on that day, I think, that you had given up drugs too, right? For the sake of your son?
I don't even have a son.
Or your child that's in Texas?
I have 2 daughters, yes.
Okay, is one of them in Texas?
No, they both live in Jeff City now.
Okay, well, did you tell Devin Faust that you quit drugs?
I had cut off doing drugs at that time, yeah.
Okay, but you didn't tell him you went to the reptile facility.
That's correct.
Then on 10/18, the day after your door was kicked in by the SWAT team looking for drugs, Devin Faust visited you again.
Correct.
And they told you, I think, that they were trying to hammer Lynlee. Is that correct?
Right.
And they wanted to hammer Lynlee, and so they talked to the Callaway County prosecutor, and they said that if you helped them and you weren't the trigger puller, then you would get probation. Is that correct?
They said that we can talk to something to the effect of we can talk to a prosecutor and sometimes those people get probation or something like that, yeah.
Didn't they tell you they talked to the Callaway County prosecutor and they were gonna quash or get your drug charges that your door was just kicked in for dismissed?
I don't recall that exactly, no.
But they did tell you that they were trying to hammer Lynlee.
Correct.
And you still didn't tell them at that point that you were just going there to talk to Ben.
No.
Then you get arrested on 1/16 of 2020, correct?
Correct.
And you tell the police that Lynlee threw the gun out the window. Is that correct?
I also told him I didn't know where it was at that point either because, like we were just talking about, felon with a firearm, I was not.
So those were lies.
Correct.
And you were charged with murder.
Right.
And you had remembered that the police were trying to hammer Lynlee. You remembered that conversation, right? At that when you were arrested.
Was it at the forefront of my mind? No.
Well, you told the police on 1/16. I think you told Trooper Schaefer back there that Lynlee did this, right? All by herself on 1/16. You said you were going in there to talk to him, and Lynlee did this all by herself. Isn't that what you said on 1/16?
I had said that I drove her out there.
You didn't say that that Lynlee showed you a gun, and then you and her walked into the snake facility, and she shot Ben all by herself. You never told the police that on 1/16?
I told her that, yeah.
You did tell them that.
Yeah.
And that was consistent. You told them that because that was most likely to be believed because you knew the police suspected Lynlee had done this, and you were trying to feed them a story that you thought that they would believe because you had talked to them on 1/16 and they had told you that they thought Lynlee did this. That's why you told the police that. Correct?
I told them that's because that's what happened.
You didn't tell the police that. You didn't tell the police that. Well, if you were innocent, Michael, if you were innocent of this, if you were just an innocent bystander, why didn't you tell the police that why didn't you tell Devin Faust that on July of 2017?
I was on probation. And again with the firearm, so what am I going to do? To hand them, here you go, here's a gun that somebody just shot and probably killed somebody with. I'm on probation. It's registered to me, by the way.
You just had a trial, correct?
Yeah.
A trial for what?
Murder.
And what were you convicted of?
Murder.
Did you testify in that trial?
No, I didn't.
Did your attorneys call one witness on your behalf in that trial?
No.
Did you tell that jury anything that you just told this jury today at your own trial?
They seen interviews through videotape.
After your trial, Mr. Zollner or some of the highway patrol officers, they come and they approach your attorneys and they offer you a proffer agreement, right?
I believe that's what it's called, yeah.
Okay, so you're testifying here today is giving you a benefit, correct?
Right.
And tell the jury what that benefit is.
It's reduced to second degree, and I'll still be serving a life sentence, so.
But you're eligible for parole, right?
Hopefully will not die in there.
Does that proffer agreement, Michael, have anything to do with your testimony here today and what you're saying?
I mean, no, like, does it affect what I'm saying? No. It's still the same story. The only thing that's changed throughout since I've been arrested is just that I actually went ahead and told them that I gave her the gun.
The same story that you never told anybody, even when they were offering you preferential treatment.
Yeah.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
You didn't read right.
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you so much. You can go with the man there. Call your next witness.
Caitlin Boyles.
About the next one. Give me an estimate on your amount of time for
For those two?
Well, all three.
The next two, each of them are gonna take about 10 minutes of my time. The third one is gonna take a little bit longer.
All right, let's do the next two and see where we're at. Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony you will now give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Have a seat. Y'all doing okay?
Yeah.
You are? I couldn't tell through your eyes looked kind of. Hang in there. Ask your question, counsel.
Could you please state your name
Yes, my name is Caitlin Boyles.
and how are you employed?
I am employed as the controller and operations supervisor of People's Savings Bank.
And that's a bank where like individuals like me can have checking and savings accounts.
Yes,
And if I have a checking and savings account, can I have a debit or credit card?
yes.
And as a result, if somebody like me would use that, what would your bank produce in terms of a statement?
You would see those charges on your bank statement if you swiped your debit card.
And are you able to look at those statements and look at specific transactions and determine, depending on the information, where that transaction occurred and at what time and date?
Yes.
I want to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 83 and ask if you recognize what these are.
These are bank statements.
And those are bank statements pertaining to whose account?
If I can find a name. Benjamin and Lynlee Renick.
And is there a business record affidavit on top of those?
Yes, there is.
That basically means those are records that you guys keep in the ordinary course of business.
Correct.
And would these be such statements that I just described where you might be able to tell us about certain transactions?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd offer an exhibit, into evidence, State's Exhibit 83.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
83 be admitted.
Now, before we get to, there is still a yellow sticky on one of those pages, correct?
Yes, there is.
Okay, before we get to that day, I want to show you, we mentioned debit cards. I want to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 81 and 82. And see if you recognize what those are. And if you need to set any of that stuff down.
Okay. These are debit card applications that were signed by Benjamin and Lynlee Renick.
And do they indicate, do they both have the same debit card?
No, they have different card numbers.
And so we can determine whether Ben or Lynlee, not necessarily who might have had the card using it, but which card was being used on a certain date to make a purchase.
Correct.
And how would you go about doing that?
On the statement, the last four of the card number used for the purchase is in the description.
And on 81 and 82, the same identifying numbers will be found. Is that
Correct.
Your Honor, I would offer State's Exhibit 81 and 82 at this
Any
time.
objection?
No, Your Honor.
81, 82 be admitted.
Now, I mentioned the yellow sticky note. That's on State's Exhibit 83, correct?
Yes.
I'm going to ask, do you see that screen in front of you?
Yes.
And I don't know if it's easier for you to look at the screen or
Now,
the
wait a minute,
exhibit.
what are we doing here? Do I need,
It's already up, Judge, actually, State's Exhibit 83.
she's got it. Okay, it's in evidence, what
Yes.
you're showing now? Okay.
And it's already up, I'm sorry.
Well, is that on? Okay, we're good, go ahead.
I got ahead of you.
Sorry.
I don't know which is easier for you to look at, but on State's Exhibit 83, that page with the yellow sticky note, I've highlighted a transaction that the date says June 9th of 2017.
Correct.
Okay. Does that date indicate that I just said June 9th of 2017? Does that indicate that was the date that this transaction we're going to talk about actually occurred?
No, that was the date that the transaction posted to the account.
And what does that mean versus date the transaction occurred versus posted to the account?
Typically, there's a day or two leeway between the time that the transaction will hit the account and comes out in a pending status to when it posts.
So when I buy my gas is when it occurs.
Correct.
It could take maybe another day for the bank, if you will, to get notice of it
Correct.
and it go into the record.
Correct.
So if we look then next to that, there is an 829 per Petromark 49 Columbia, Missouri. Do you see that?
Yes.
First of all, that 1829, what does that indicate?
It's the last 4 digits of the card number that was used to make the purchase.
And so going back to 81 and 82, which were Lynlee and Ben's, one of them has that specific PIN number.
Correct.
And whose card, Ben or Lynlee, has that PIN number?
Lynlee.
And that would be found in states, this is 82 I have up there right now.
Correct.
81 is Lynlee's, correct?
Correct.
And so if we would look at the last, up in the card number, the last 4 that are highlighted are the same on States Exhibit 81 on that statement of States Exhibit 83.
Correct.
Okay. Going back to 83 then, so we know Lynlee's card was used to make this transaction.
Correct.
The Per Petromart 49 Columbia, Missouri, are you familiar with what that would refer to?
The PUR means it was a debit card purchase, so the PIN number was used. The Petromart 49 Columbia, Missouri is the location that it was used at.
And you're familiar with some of these people own maybe 20, 30 gas stations.
Correct.
So that 49, do you suspect what 49 might refer to?
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
Well, is she speculating?
Well, Judge, let me lay a foundation.
Okay.
Are
So you're
you
withdrawing the
familiar-
question? And
Yes.
you're going to start, okay. Question's been withdrawn. Go ahead, counsel.
Are you familiar with businesses keeping track of their locations by numerical systems?
Yes.
And whether you don't necessarily know if that's the case here, but that's what you would suspect that 49 to refer to.
Correct.
So we would need to contact Petromart and ask them what number station is 49, if that's how you keep track of it, and where's that located, if we wanted to know which Petromart this purchase took place at.
Correct. Or you could probably Google it. That's typically what we do when customers are asking questions.
I think that's how we started this. We Googled it, okay? But then we got more definitive, and we'll hear about that in a moment. After that, it is in parentheses 6/8 of 17. Now that's the day before this posted.
Correct. That is the date that the transaction was actually occurred.
So that's when the purchase of the gas actually took place.
Yes.
And next to that is numbers 20-03-49.
Yes.
What does that number sequence there mean?
That is the time in military time that the purchase was made.
Okay. And so in military time, what would that be? 8:03 p.m.?
It would be, however, it is Greenwich Mean Time, not Central Standard Time.
So a quick translation is just taking it to military time, which is 8 p.m. 8:03 to be exact.
Yes.
And the second. But that's not the actual time of the purchase, is it?
No.
Okay. And why is that? Why is this time 8:03? Is the purchase time actually different?
Our core processor uses Greenwich Mean Time so that you can convert it to whatever time for whatever time zone you're in. So they just use one standard time zone for all of their debit cards.
And is that Greenwich Mean Time? Is that like the date line on the
Yeah.
globe? And are you familiar with how much time we would have to add or subtract from this time to get the exact time that this purchase was made?
It would be 6 hours you would subtract.
Are you sure it was 6 or was it 5 from previous time discussions with us?
I apologize, you're right, it's 5.
Okay. Well, and don't look. I'm not the one testifying, and I have some other notes here if you need to look. But I want to be certain. Do you recall now, thinking about it a little bit more clearly, how much time we would actually subtract from that?
Yes, it's 5 hours.
We would subtract 5 hours from 8:03.
Yes.
So this purchase would have actually been made on June 8th, 2017 at 3:03 in the afternoon.
Correct.
And apparently whatever was purchased there, whether it was gas or hot dogs and sodas, it was $20.42.
Correct.
Your Honor, I don't have any other questions.
Cross.
No questions, Your Honor.
Can this witness be finally excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Step
you.
down and you're finally excused. Call your next witness.
Devin Faust. Oh, thank you, Ms. Wells. I appreciate it.
Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony you will now give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Have a seat. No.
Could you please state your name?
My name is Devin Faust.
And how are you employed?
I'm an investigator for the Missouri State Highway Patrol.
And do you hold a rank, sir?
I'm a corporal with them.
Corporal, how long have you been with the Missouri State Highway Patrol?
10 years.
And what are your current duties and responsibilities?
I'm an investigator within our Division of Drug and Crime Control, and I'm a bomb technician and general investigator.
And prior to that, back in June of 2017, did you hold those same duties?
Back then I was attached to the Troop F criminal unit. I wasn't a bomb tech then, but I was a general investigator.
And did you become involved in the investigation of Ben Renick's homicide?
I did.
And as a result of that investigation, you were at the crime scene, were you not?
I was.
But later on, you interviewed Ms. Renick on a number of occasions.
I did.
And I want to draw your attention to the June 19th, 2017 interview. Did you have an occasion when you were speaking with her to ask her about her phone?
I did.
And when you did that, why did you want to look at her phone?
It's a typical process. It's common for us to ask and look at a lot of people's phones. She had not been ruled out as a suspect, and I asked if we could do a download of her phone, which comes along with a consent form that she signs prior to the interview, and that was attempted during the interview process. Someone sat outside the interview room, attempted to download that phone.
And were you successful in doing so?
No, we were not. Some phones, it was explained to me, I'm not a person that does that some phones just don't, it doesn't work. The information won't come off the device onto a reader where you can read it.
So did you go to the old-fashioned way of looking at her phone?
I did, manually, which happens a lot too. So I just went through everything kind of quickly because I just stepped out of the interview room with her, left someone in there, and I started going through her phone. So normal stuff, text calls, emails, yes.
And this is taking place about 11 days, a week and a half after the murder.
11 days, right.
And when you're doing that, are you looking in that general time frame of the murder?
Yes.
And when you do that, do you come across the name in there that you hadn't heard about or jumped out at you as being suspicious in some fashion?
I did.
And what name was that was in the phone?
It was under Mike H, and it was a text conversation that had occurred that day.
And you
The day of the murder, June 8th, sorry.
And you subsequently learned who Mike H was?
I did.
And who is that?
She, when I asked her, I walked back in, I said, "Who's Mike H?" And she said, paraphrasing, he was a client of mine, his mom was a client of mine, and we kind of got back in contact, is what she said at the beginning.
And did she explain to you that, but his full name was what?
Michael Humphrey.
Okay. And did she explain to you his mom had been a client of hers?
She stated that his mom had she was a client of hers. I don't remember now if it was her or Michael that told me what the deal was with his mom, his mom's back.
Do you remember her describing why during this time frame she and Michael had come into contact with each other?
At first she said it was because his mom was a client and that they were going to do some work on her or work on Michael as well, and then it changed after that again.
And what did she tell you a second reason why they were in contact with each other?
So then it came up the car audio story, which I believe we've heard, that they got in contact with him to help her coworker and employee Ashley Shaw get audio equipment put into her vehicle.
Now, ultimately you went back in that interview room, did you not?
I did.
Did you have an idea about a new lead, someone you should speak to?
I did, sure, Michael Humphrey.
And that's based on what you found in his phone?
Correct.
You went and interviewed him, did you not, on July 17th of 2017?
I did.
You had a little bit of trouble finding him, did you not?
I went to his residence a couple times and couldn't get him either. If he was home, couldn't get him to answer. If he wasn't home, he wasn't home. Right.
you ultimately tracked him down and made him report to his probation officer, so you talked to him there.
I did.
And during that conversation, did you look at his phone?
I did.
And did you find something unusual on his phone in reference to another date you had interviewed Lynlee Renick?
I did.
What did you find on his phone that you thought was a little unusual?
It was the same text conversation as before from June 8th, and then there was no contact until, I may get the date a little wrong, I think it was June 19th though, and there was an emoticon text, whatever, thumbs up, you know, from that evening on, I think the 19th. And then I discovered a phone
on
call
June
too.
19th, he's got a thumbs up emoji.
Correct.
And that's being sent to whom, from whom?
From Lynlee's phone to his phone.
And she had been interviewed and let go earlier that day.
Earlier that day, she'd been at Troop F in Jeff City talking to us, yes.
And that night then, this thumbs up emoji is sent from her to Michael.
Correct.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 105 and ask if you can identify what that is, sir.
This is a picture that I took of his phone while we were sitting in my patrol vehicle outside of the office there. It's a picture I took with my work phone of his phone of that text conversation.
Who's his? Let's
Sorry, Michael Humphrey.
Michael Humphrey's phone. Okay, that's it. Go ahead.
And so this is a photograph you took of his phone.
It's a photograph of Michael Humphrey's phone, yes.
Your Honor, I would offer State's Exhibit 105 at this time.
Any objection? No, Your Honor. 105 being admitted.
Your Honor, could I go ahead and publish this?
Yeah, should be able to just put it on there.
Devin, can you see then, so our Corporal Faust, can you see there in the middle is this thumbs up emoji?
Yes.
And prior to that, there's some conversation from June 8th that has been texted from Lynlee to Michael also.
Correct.
And I think Nat Schaefer is going to talk about that in a little bit. But after this thumbs up emoji, did Mr. Humphreys respond?
He did.
And what was his response to Lynlee through text messaging?
Michael texted back, LOL, I was thinking about you earlier on my way home, what you up to?
And did she respond to that?
She did. She said, sorry, M, her daughter, was messing around on my phone and accidentally sent that. We are getting ready for bed.
And did he reply back?
He did. He said, got ya.
And was that the end of this basic conversation they had that evening after she had been interviewed by law enforcement?
Yes.
I want to jump ahead to June 13th of 2019. Did you come into contact with our speaker around that time with David Levinson?
Is the date right on that?
Well, I think that was one of the interviews.
It is. I did speak with Dave Levinson. Might have been the next month.
And you'd spoken to him on a couple of occasions, but on this occasion he was reporting having found something to you down in Plato, Missouri that he thought might be important.
2019, yes.
Did I say 2018?
No, you said it right. I was still thinking back to 2017, sorry.
Okay, well, and again, we're jumping ahead a year or two.
Right.
Yeah, so this is a year or two after the murder.
Right.
And he's contacting you having found something he thinks might be important.
Correct.
And what is he relating to you that he found?
He found a spent shell casing while cleaning out the snake racks when they were in the process of moving the snake facility to another location, and he took the racks down, put them back up.
I'm sorry, Phil, took the racks down?
Yes, ma'am. And he was going to put them back up, and he found a spent shell casing that we didn't discover at the crime scene.
And did you, as a result of that, ask him to do something and make arrangements to get that shell casing sent up to you?
I did. I sent investigators from a different part of the state that were closer than I was down to pick that up. Highway Patrol investigators.
And so you had other investigators that were down in that area to go get this?
Correct.
And did you make arrangements then to have it brought up to you in some fashion?
I did. I think I asked them to go ahead and do it too, but it got sent back up to the Jeff City evidence.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 55. And see if you can identify what State's Exhibit 55 is.
It's a spent cartridge casing in a Highway Patrol envelope that I put into evidence. There's a box in here with it.
And And was that then placed in evidence?
It was.
Your Honor, I'd offer State's Exhibit 55.
Any objection to 55? 55 submitted.
And now I want to actually ask you to flash forward again to October 29th of 2021, just a few weeks ago. Did you have an occasion to speak with Michael Humphrey again?
I did.
And at that time, did he provide you with some additional information that he had not provided before?
He did.
And as part of that, the location of where the gun he said was used in this crime by Lynlee to murder her husband was located at?
Yes.
Where did he tell you that was located at?
It was in his girlfriend's mother's house in the attic crawl space underneath some insulation.
And did you or another officers make arrangements to get permission to go in that house and seize that gun?
I did.
And were you successful in finding the gun where he said it would be?
I was.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibits 107, 108, 109, 110, and 111. If you could take a second and look at those. Tell us if you recognize what those are photographs of.
So your photographs of the weapon and the location, our discovery of it between Trooper, another investigator, Trooper Schaefer, and myself. He took these pictures while I opened the door and stuck my hand in the insulation and pulled the firearm. It's a progression.
If you go like a cartoon, as you slowly walk through finding the gun, photos of that.
Correct.
Your Honor, I'd offer 107 through 111.
Okay, 107 through, well, any objection? 107 through 111 be admitted.
Judge, may I take a moment just to show these to the jury?
Yeah, are you gonna do it on your thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're looking at 107. What is that a picture of?
It is the doorway in this loft attic area of the house.
Basically, it's a door to get into that attic area.
Correct.
State's Exhibit 108 shows what?
That is inside that attic crawl space.
And basically, once you just step inside those doors, this is a photograph of that area.
Correct.
And we're going to see the next one, but behind this cooler and boxes, in that insulation area is where this gun is going to be uncovered, correct?
Correct.
State's Exhibit 109, what are we looking at there?
That's my leg, and that is the box that contained the firearm after I pushed some insulation to the side.
We see a little bit of a black plastic thing uncovered. That's the box you're referring to.
Correct.
State's Exhibit 110, what is that a photograph of?
That is me beginning to pull that box out.
And State's Exhibit 111, what is that a photograph of?
That is the contents of the box right as we opened it. That's how it looked in there.
Now, the gun is in State's Exhibit 114. That's this box and the contents are what we see in that photograph, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, I don't have any other questions.
Cross.
Can I approach, Your Honor?
Oh, me? Yeah. All right, you gonna? here's what, where'd he go? All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a break tonight and start up again at 8:30, and you're gonna be coming back. And the prosecutor said that's okay with you.
Sounds good, Your Honor.
Okay. So that's what we're gonna do. Let me read you this reminder. Again, remind you of what you were told at the first recess of the court until you're retired to consider your verdict. You must not discuss this case among yourselves or with others, or permit anybody to discuss it in your hearing. You should not form or express any opinion about the case until it's finally given to you to decide. Do not research this case on the internet or by any other means. Don't read, view, or listen to any newspaper, radio, or TV report of the trial. And with that, you can go back and order something cheap, would you? Don't have the filet mignon, all right? Take it easy on us. With that, you can go. I'll see you tomorrow at 8:30, okay? Let's see, that's going to be, what is tomorrow? Yeah, it's Pearl Harbor Day, 12/7, okay. Okay, you can go ahead, you're just coming back tomorrow morning, okay? I know that, or a couple things I wanted to get out there. We're in agreement, even though the case had live rounds in it. If the jury wants it, those live rounds are coming out, and I'll tell them that. When we get to deliberate, okay. But they were in there, and that's why you got that photo, okay. Now, on this other issue, can we take that up tomorrow? I don't even know, do you want to even proceed with that or not?
Well,
I mean, you were doing it tonight in the interest of brevity, but do you want to even?
Judge, again, I think it is self-serving hearsay.
Understood.
And I think it's well taken.
Now what? See, he's not acting like he's going to do a whole lot with statements.
Well,
I don't know what that means, but
again, I mean, I don't either, Judge, but the rule is that the defendant's statements are self-serving hearsay.
okay. I tell you what I think we're going to do, and I haven't made up my mind completely, but I think we're going to see what he wants to do when he questions her, and you can make an objection. Okay?
That's fine, Judge.
We'll just do it that way, because I don't know what we're even talking about until he starts doing it. Okay? In any event, you think you all now will get wrapped up tomorrow by lunchtime?
Judge, I depending on how long Nat Schaefer takes, like I said, there's a couple.
I know you're estimating.
And depending on the cross, I believe we can wrap up by noon like we originally projected.
Okay. And then we're going to take up your motion and then fire for effect. You got your people ready to go, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Can I get instructions tomorrow morning?
Yeah.
Ms. Berger said that you gave your proposed instructions to her. She wants to look at them tonight. Can I get your alls and everybody's tomorrow morning?
And Judge, it'd be real simple for me to send you the same email. Now, that is just...
Now, the problem with an email, and he sent me his exhibit list, if I print something, it prints off on the printer downstairs.
Okay.
I'm not savvy enough to figure out how to change
that's fine.
print. So just give it to me.
I can pull them out. I was going to say the email is just the verdict directors, though, which would be...
That'd actually be another thing. If you could be so kind as to just give me a copy of your
I'll bring
exhibit
you out our
list.
copy
That'd be
tomorrow.
great. That'd be great.
But I'll pull them out and have them for you in the morning, Judge.
Okay. Just hard copy. I only want dirty ones. I only want dirty. Okay. And what am I forgetting? 8:30 tomorrow. I guess that's it. Okay, we're in recess. And they're going to lock this up.